Today, we're going to talk about creating enterprise apps with AI MCP, a little bit of low code, but not a lot of coding, because with AI, we can do a lot with very little effort nowadays. My name is Jason Beres. My email, jasonb@infragistics.com. And you can learn about everything we're going to talk about today at infragistics.com. So what are we going to talk about? Primarily how you can build amazing experiences for any platform using Infragistics UI components. We've been doing this for over 35 years for every platform, from the late 80s to the 90s to the 2000s, all the way through almost now to 2030, desktop, mobile, WPF, WinUI, MAUI, Windows Forms, and then modern web with Blazor, Angular, React, and web components. I'm going to show you today how you can just accelerate building out some of these amazing experiences that your customers expect using our tooling. So we're going to look at a little bit of AI with Copilot. We're going to look at some low code with our app builder product and how to use some command line tools. Mostly we're going to stick with demo, and then we'll go into next step. So here's a few screenshots. Many enterprise applications built for the web today not only have your typical navigation, calendaring, charting, but data grids. Data grids end up being a very big part of most enterprise web applications and most SaaS apps with Infragistics. That's been our claim to fame for decades. So if you're building for Blazor or Windows Forms, you need dozens of really rich interactions available to you in that data grid. These screenshots have a few examples, but also just some good looking applications with different themes and styles that you can apply across our components. And I'm going to give you a little taste of this in code demos today. And then for the desktop, we have not left the desktop behind. We still do a lot of work on Windows Forms and WPF, but now we're happy to announce at Build 2026 our brand new WinUI component suite. This mirrors much of the experience that you get in our WPF components. So rich components like data grids, data charts, geospatial maps, inputs, and more are in our new WinUI component set. And following shortly after this is MAUI with our cross-platform story with those same components that now you can build Android applications, iPad applications, and desktop applications. So we give you components on any platform to build any type of experience that you need to deliver. So let's jump into a demo so you can see how to start putting this together. First, I'm just going to start at the infragistics.com homepage. I just want to highlight you can learn about our UI components here. We also have an embedded analytics SDK called Reveal, and we have a growth GTM platform, AI native, AI first work management tool called Slingshot. From our main menu, you can jump to any of the home pages for any of our products. I'll jump over to Ignite UI. And I just want to highlight again that with Ignite UI, which is our modern web tool set, we have Angular, Blazor, React, and web components. The way that we build components is each platform has the exact same components with the same APIs and the same feature set. So you don't have to choose one versus the other to get a specific component. If you think you're going to use React and you're kind of trialing our React components and then you decide we're going to go Blazor, great. Same things are available on Blazor. And basically we ship everything you need to build high performance web apps on your platform of choice. The easiest way to get started is using App Builder, which is our low-code WYSIWYG development platform. We've also injected AI into App Builder over the last 18 months. So you can actually use a conversational AI interface or a WYSIWYG drag and drop to build out apps. This is a super easy way to get started with our components, but still you can use our CLI. You can start in Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio. It doesn't really matter, Cursor, Windsurf, etc. But if I click sign in, I would go through my Office 365 login and I would end up here at my App Builder workbench. You can start with any of our sample apps or click new application and you have a dialog which has a few other options. You can use empty templates to get started. You can go right from Figma to an application, choose a sample app, or you can start creating with AI. What I'm going to do is just grab a sample application here. I will click the CRM app and I end up here right inside of the WYSIWYG IDE. This is a single page application builder. The UI should seem familiar to you. You've got views on the left-hand side. When I select items, my properties change on the right-hand side based on what those items are. I can move items around. I have options when I click and right-click. I can edit with AI. all kinds of great features here just to give you a beautiful WYSIWYG experience. When it's working with something like a data grids you may want to add additional features to. So for example, for this grid, if I want to add row actions, exporting our grid toolbar, column moving, pinning, resizing, hiding, maybe outlook group by, I can just simply click and those features are enabled. If I wanted to customize those, I could click on the element or property and it would modify it. Over on the left-hand side, I've got my toolbox, which has our UI components. One important aspect of Ignite UI is we ship 50 of our components as open source MIT. So you can get started for literally free with the majority of our components. You can bind to any type of data. You can have routing, navigation, variables, custom theming. So you can have any type of theme you want with a single click. You can even build out your own themes as well. We ship with 6 default themes around Fluent, Bootstrap, Material, and Indigo. And then you have some digital assets if you need it, and then your conversational AI helper. So let me go over to the theme and let's pick something like Fluent Light, which looks good. I just want to go ahead and run this application just to see what it looks like. So you'll see I have my dashboard here. My navigation's all built in. Here's my data grids with all of those features that I have in my data grid. This is that nice Kanban view. This was the dashboard view that I had changed. Remember, I added those grid features. So now I have my Excel style filter. I have my Outlook group by, my toolbar with exporting options. But what's cool is here on the right-hand side, you can see the code for the screen that you're looking at. So let's say, for example, I want to jump over to the customer's view. This is the C# code that's being generated, and this is the HTML and the Blazor components that are being injected and generated, the Infragistics Blazor components. Remember, I said you can use any platform, so let's look at React and not Blazor. So now I have the same thing in React. App Builder does give you a really amazing experience for WYSIWYG drag and drop, AI app development. It doesn't matter. But what I want to do is, if I look at some of the views here that have nothing, I'm going to delete this and we're going to leave tasks empty for now. I want to go to publish. Actually, first, let's change this over to Blazor. Let's do a Blazor server app. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to call this CRM app and we're going to say build 2026. And I'm going to copy that. And let's publish this to GitHub. I can publish to GitHub, Azure DevOps, or I can download a zip file. It doesn't really matter. So let's just make this GitHub repo look nice. I'm going to make this public. I'm going to create this repository. We also have features that allow you to build this out as an actual app to GitHub pages. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to click publish. This is creating my application in the cloud, all of the code that's necessary. It says the app's created. And you can see if I drill into CRM app build 2026, all of those pages that we looked at are here. So here's the task page that we're going to work with. If I look at my customers.razor, this is all production ready, amazing C# HTML code, no black box here, no garbage code. So let's just grab this, grab our Git. Let me pop up Visual Studio Code. Let's clone this. And we'll just go to a default folder. Let's open this guy up and we're ready to rock and roll. This is exactly what we just saw inside of GitHub. So what I want to do first is go to my terminal and I want to get my MCP server installed. You'll notice here there is no mcp.json. So using the Infragistics Ignite UI CLI, which I do have installed already, I can just tell it to do an AI config, and it went ahead and it added in my VS Code folder my MCP servers. So here's the Ignite UI CLI, Ignite UI theming. Let's just go ahead and hit start. Now those guys are up and running. I'm going to right click on my project, open it up in the integrated terminal, and I want to install my skills now. So Ignite UI has a CLI, it has a theming CLI, and then it has skills. And all of these together inform the agents on how to best build applications with Ignite UI. So I'm going to say GitHub skill install. And what do I want to install? Ignite UI / Ignite UI Blazor. If I was working in Angular or React, I would do Angular or React. You hit enter. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to say all skills. I'm going to do GitHub Copilot and Claude Code, and we'll do it for this project. It downloaded and now it installed all of my skills. So you can see I've got my Ignite UI Blazor component skill, my Blazor generate from image design, Blazor grids, Blazor theming. So I'm ready to rock and roll. So we can close this out, and we actually don't need this anymore. I'll make this a little bit bigger, and we can even ask Copilot, do you have the Ignite UI theming, CLI, MCP servers, and skills available? And you can see that it responded very quickly that, yep, I have everything I need to help you build out your Ignite UI for Blazor application. So let's just do a .NET run. We'll open this guy up. Let's open it up in the external browser, and we'll be able to see that we've got the beautiful application that we saw inside of App Builder. All of the features and capabilities that we expect are here. Here's that empty tasks page. But you can see even here, I've got my Outlook group by enabled. I've got filtering. I've got column moving. I've got column pinning. I can do an export to Excel. I can do column hiding. So there's all kinds of capabilities in this grid. I didn't have to write any code for this. This was all just done with App Builder. Now what I want to do is add another grid to my tasks page. And I have some data up in the cloud. It's some customer data with addresses. I have a logo, which is just from RoboHash. So I want to bind my new grid, on the tasks page to this data. So let's go to Visual Studio Code. We can stop our application, and let's give it some instructions. On the task page, add a new Ignite UI data grid with this data bound. Add a nice margin around the page to match the other pages. Add these grid features: Outlook group by, Excel style filtering, column moving, export to Excel, and put the address information in a multi-row collapsible header. Make sure to inspect the schema of the JSON file to get the field names, and make sure the image for the logo column is rendered correctly. So now we've given some instructions. Let's go ahead and hit enter. And our application will now use the agents, the MCP servers, to build out our app. And you can see that it's doing a list, a search, etc. of the Ignite UI CLI MCP servers. It's engaging those skills, and we'll give it a second here, and it will add, or rather update, our application based on those instructions. So that wrapped up. Let's go ahead and .NET run again and see how our new tasks page looks in the browser. So we're running again at localhost 5000. Let's just copy this. I think I might have this open. Yes, I do. We'll do a refresh. Oh, look at there. Our tasks page is already loaded. Let's do a refresh. So this is the grid that it added. It actually did an Outlook group by for us. So let's collapse that group by and see what else it did. Oh, you'll notice my beautiful logo in the left-hand column. You'll also notice I do have the multi-column header with a collapsible address information area. So that's actually working. If I scroll to the left, I have my Excel style filter. I've got all of the toolbar options along with export to Excel. You'll notice I did specify export to Excel. I didn't say PDF or CSV. So it actually did just give me the export to Excel. So that's pretty amazing. It did all of this with just a simple command using the Ignite UI Blazor skills along with the MCP server. Next, we're going to do something a little bit different. I have a screenshot here. You can see it's just from Adobe stock. It's a dashboard view, has a left nav, has some cards on it with some different data visualizations. I'm going to drag this into my chat and ask it to build this app out with Ignite UI, and let's see how close we can get. So I have this image. It's called image2.png. I'm going to drag it right in. I'm going to say use Ignite UI, Blazor, MCP servers, and skills. Build an app that looks exactly like the attached image. Make sure to match the colors, fonts, etc. Let's hit the enter key, and we will just let this guy run for a second. It will start to detect that it has the MCP servers and the skills. It'll analyze the image, and we'll go right from an image to pixel perfect enterprise ready code with Ignite UI Blazor. And I want to continue to emphasize that we are using components, frameworks, along with the capabilities of AI to not only deliver beautiful experiences, but to get the best outcomes. So there is no drift, there is no hallucination. I'm not going crazy with tokens because I'm generating screens with thousands and thousands of lines of divs using a design system my company didn't approve or has no idea what it is, using something like Ignite UI with the .NET framework, with Blazor, or React or Angular, whatever your choice is. You'll get certainty in those outcomes in the most optimized, efficient manner. And it looks like the app is live on localhost 5072. Let's go ahead and we'll open this up in our external browser. And that looks pretty good. So we've got a beautiful blue themed app. We have our cards across the top. There's our Ignite UI chart. There is our gauge. It looks like it didn't use the data grid here below, but if I go back to my image, we'll open this guy up and we can see that it is pretty darn close. That's a donut chart up in the upper right. That's our category chart here. If I scroll back up, it actually did the right values in the card. So what would I do next? I would still work with my agent and I would continue to maybe bind this to live data, add new screens, maybe tweak what it did build. But ultimately, I end up with something in about 2 minutes that otherwise would have potentially taken days. I don't really know. I don't have a designer either. So just starting from a stock image gave me a huge advantage. And finally, I just want to highlight some of our WinUI capabilities. As I mentioned, this is the launch of our brand new WinUI product. I have a few demos here, but go to infragistics.com to download all of our new WinUI demos. Check us out on YouTube, but you can see we have beautiful charts. We're shipping a data grid. We're shipping some other really cool components as well. If I scroll down, we have a neat one called the dashboard tile, which I really like. It allows you to give your end user a little bit of customization. So for example, let's say you give them a data grid or a data chart and they want to do some data analysis. With the dashboard tile, you can do things like swap between the data and the chart. You can configure the chart to show different features, different capabilities. If you don't want to show the configuration, you can even let your end users swap out the chart type at runtime, so they have a little bit more control over what they're looking at on the screen. But this is just a taste of what we're doing in WinUI. I'm going to minimize this and just look at a little bit of code. So if I scroll over to the right, you'll notice here in my XAML, I have the Infragistics XAM category chart. If you've ever used our WPF product, you know it's called the XAM category chart. If you've used our Blazor chart or our Angular or React chart, this is the same capabilities, APIs, property settings across all of the charts, just like the other components in WPF and WinUI, and then our Angular, React, Blazor components. You're going to get that same experience no matter what when you're building applications. And you can see here on the right-hand side, I was even using GitHub Copilot chat to customize my WinUI experience. So you can still build out these beautiful applications using Infragistics UI components that you've known and loved for over 30 years now, using GitHub Copilot, code by hand. It doesn't matter. It's all up to you. So let's go back to the slides and we'll wrap up. So after seeing all of those cool examples and how you can build out beautiful experiences with the Infragistics UI components, no matter what platform you're working on, I don't think I need to be the one to say that you should start building with Infragistics today. You probably are already on the website downloading samples, checking out App Builder, or seeing what we have in our brand new WinUI product that we are releasing today at Build 2026. So please check out Ignite UI with our MCP servers and skills, no matter what IDE you're using, App Builder for low-code dev, as well as conversational AI to build out app experiences, and then WinUI. But even on the desktop, if you're still doing WPF or Windows Forms, we have a lot to offer there as well. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today in this session. Learn more at infragistics.com and have a great rest of Build 2026.